Hello and good evening, everybody out there watching RCI TV Night Owl Action Round 2, Season 3. And of course, I am Jesse Lee. I am here with Ryan Mawson, Nick Setnick on the cameras tonight. And the big hook of this season, the drivers do not know the track that they are going to end up participating on until a few days before the race. Ryan Mawson, welcome in to round two. Looks like we didn't chase you off after all.
Definitely not. Not for the how amazing some of the racing was in the Night Owl from round one. And as you said, Jesse, a lot of the people didn't know until a few days before what they were driving on, but the AMG drivers must be grinning like a Cheshire cat. You exactly wanted Imola if you were a Mercedes driver.
Yeah, I believe that to be very, very true indeed. As qualifying just getting underway, not missing a moment of the action, it was pretty even down through the field, at least for the top, I'd say the top five, top eight were pretty darn close on time. As just the very short 10-minute qualifying session that we became very familiar with recently here in RCI competition. Everybody out trying to get that lap in as quickly as possible. You're not going to get a ton of opportunity around here to set really fast laps. You've got to get out there, get the banker lap in, get the hot lap in, and be happy with what you got. Making a mistake here could be very costly.
Yes, we're expecting some fairly rapid times today as well. If we look, we've got a 20C low light, pretty much optimum conditions for, the fastest of the fast. But that also then makes the field even more compact.
Well, indeed. So keep in mind, this is the Pro and Silver split for Night Owl. Season 3, well and truly off and running last weekend. The opening round was very hotly contested, a fantastic race. But that was the thing. They knew when race one or where race one was going to take place. They didn't know where race two was until a few days ago, Ryan. Bigger pressure and a bigger, easier, or excuse me, harder for them to pick a car, not knowing what the track they were going to get. It's sort of a lottery and a lot of work to do if perhaps Imola does not favor your car.
Yes, because obviously then you have that toss-up, don't you? Do you go for a car that is just okay everywhere and expect good results, or do you go for a car that has one or two really shining tracks and hope in the luck of the draw that your track comes on as we start having the first laps underway as Daniel Jose Jorges in the Ferrari, possibly a car that could do quite well. The mid-engines do seem to be quite well. The McLaren, I know, is also quite a weapon around here, but the Ferrari I've never really seen driven in anger at Imola, to tell the truth. But with the straight line speed that it does have down the straight, it could be quite the lap setter. We'll have to see when he crosses the line.
Well, for some of the longer races around here, the Ferrari did do some damage. Unfortunately, it just didn't hold a candle to the Mercedes. The last few times RCI has been on track here at Imola, it has been a Mercedes-dominated affair. But will that continue to be the case today with limited practice and limited knowledge on the course and what the conditions were going to be like today? Well, of course, this is the brainchild of Mr. Mike Jones, throwing the drivers into an unknown. Some of these guys and gals will relish that chance to shine under pressure and in the unknown. Other drivers are I've been told, have been sitting there with their fingers crossed, hoping that they get a track that benefits their car specifically. Of course, they don't know. So we were talking before the show today, Ryan, that you were talking to some of the drivers, potentially Harry Spears, and he was hoping for exactly this combination.
Yes, and it'll be interesting to see as well. As we know, as he says, in the RCI, the 3 and the 9 specifically was very Mercedes dominated, but the Mercedes of Harry Spears is the 2015 model. So we don't know what the balance of performance might be like for that. It could be as good as the 2020, or maybe it's not just as sharp, being a bit of a last-gen car. You do not know until they start crossing the line. They don't appear to be phasing Harry Spears, as he already puts it on provisional pole with his first lap.
He does a 41.292, the bar. Cody Pride not able to quite level that mark. A thousandth of a second, all that's in it between the two. And here's what I'm talking about. We saw this in practice in the pre show, and we're continuing to see it. Everybody out there with these conditions are trying to get every single thing they can. Pretty ideal, like Ryan said, and a lot of goings off here. And just one minute mistake at a track like Imola, you are going to go into the dirt and you are going to ruin your entire lap. And they can't afford that in this session.
Now, with 5 minutes left, we've got maybe 2 to 3 more laps. But as it says, you very easily throw that away. And also with some of these curbs, especially if you're in a car like the Mercedes, which is known to be quite the curb munching, really. But there is an element of risk there. Do you go for that curb? It could slice maybe 2 to 3 tenths off if you have the absolute amazing exit. But if it grabs your splitter, you will be very much becoming a part of the International Space Station mission.
And that's not something, well, there are many Italians that do participate in the International Space Station astronaut. I don't know what Italy calls their astronauts, actually. I don't think they actually call them astronauts, right? But whatever, there are several of them, but you typically don't come to Imola to do that. But the curbs are a big feature around here. And if you were with us on Friday, we were at Snetterton for the Friday World Championship. And those curbs are the size of London tower blocks, I swear. These not quite so big, but that doesn't really matter that they're that big. They are still massive. Not only can they ruin your lap, they can ruin your car. These curbs so large can and will damage your front splitter. Yeah,
we've seen it before in the 3 and the 9 hour. You just start picking up maybe 1 to 2 seconds of damage over a stint. So we still have a couple of people coming back into the pits. Lefferand maybe up a tiny bit. About 0.9 of a second, it looks like. So that could put him well into the mid-pack battle. As it does.
Ben Litherland going up to 7th place. This man right here on the provisional pole, Daniel Jose Jorges in the 777, 40.935. He's had a brutal run here of races in RCI, been involved in all sorts of incidents, penalties, and just general unfortunate events that have befallen the Smooth Operator GP Ferrari, and he is out here for blood. He kind of arrived on the scene here at Night Owl Season 1 and put everybody on notice, but it's not been a smooth couple of months. But right now here at Imola with that Ferrari showing the way, at least early. But can Cody Pride for PPR Esports say anything about that? As he's going to come across the line, and he will not improve his time, just off by 4 1,000ths of a second. And that is how small the tolerances are between going faster and not. Everybody here. And here's Stoffmel. Stoffmel has some fans in the chat. We see you cheering on your favorite driver, the 144 PCDC Motorsports Lexus. Lovely Lexus. I would expect this car and this driver to be a bit further up the field than they are. But luckily, they're going to get a couple more laps in here to try and do some damage.
Yes, and it appears so far, since Stoffmeal is up on this lap, it's about 0.7. So once again, that could very easily put him up into, the upper pack battle.
Of course, race 2 of Night Owl with you here, season 3. Glad to have all of you with us. It's called Night Owl for a reason. Night Owl because it is in the evening time, not only for Europe and Asia, but also the East Coast of the United States. The sun's going down here later in the evening. We'll see what Stoffmeal has as he comes across the line, does improve all the way up to 5th. Now that's more like it from PCDC Motorsports. That's what we expect from Stoffmeal too. And he gets it inside the top 5 for now, but cannot give up because the pack will not quit their pursuit. Daniel Jose Jorge's leads the pack over here. He spears Cody Pride third. Renor in fourth place, and Stoffmill now your top five. McKean is sixth, and this Anna in seventh place. What can they do to improve? They do not improve. I think their lap was invalidated, is what happened right there.
Yeah, as it would appear. So it says maybe we were wrong about the Mercedes, because so far it appears that Jorge's in his Ferrari is just running away with it, especially with, if you look at how tightly packed the rest of the grid is, that's a 0.3, almost 0.4 second gap. But the other thing is, it's okay to qualify that high, but what does your car do, you know, on race pace? What does it do when it's full of fuel? It could all come crashing down for the Ferrari, or he could just leave the entire field.
Well, I can tell that Jose Jorge is on a quicker lap even still as Harry Spears comes to pit road. He will go no further in the session. Cody Pride still out there pounding around. Jose Jorge is on a quicker lap right now. Paulo Lima, though, trying to improve outside of the top 10 right now. Would like to get that car inside the top 10 for Lima Racing. Looks like he's going to do just that, coming across the line, and does indeed improve all the way up into the seventh spot. Daniel Jose Jorge lost all of his time in the third sector. Does not matter anyway. All of his competitors are already in pit road as the entire top 7 have returned. Sebastian Brunier, hey, we know that guy. He's actually going to mow some grass in his very expensive lawnmower.
That is, that's an interesting line. We'll call it that.
Now, what is Burka Yilmaz doing here? He is well down the order, nowhere near where I expect the number 5 Ferrari to be. He is on a lap that will count here, coming into the the second sector, I should say. Now, what on earth is he doing this far back? Now, we have a Ferrari up front and a bunch in the middle. What do you make of that, Ryan?
That could be a bit of a setup conundrum, I would say. The Ferrari is can be a very, very, very good car, but at least when I drove it, I never got on with it because the front end was very, very light. And maybe that's what some of the drivers are struggling. Maybe you want a bit, if you don't fully trust the car, especially coming through the likes of Acqua Minerale, you're not going to want to throw it in as hard as you can.
Well, we are not sure exactly what is going on here with the final standings. They appear to have put them in a very strange order, unless we saw something we didn't see. I don't believe we saw the 199 qualify on pole, or perhaps we did and it didn't update us appropriately. But either way, something strange going on here for us. And yes, indeed, the standings were broken, but here is the actual lining up running order of all of the drivers. Anna leading us off in the 199. We're at a 40.764. Daniel Jose Jorge will settle for the second the second position on the front row of the grid, a 49.11. Second row by McKean and Spears, then Pride and Renor, then Solnez and Guerrero, Stoffmill and Warren round out the top 10. Lima, Kumpo, Letherland and Knappen, Gonzalez, Brunier, Liege, Yilmaz, and Moriarty and Akar, your top 20. And outside the top 20, these are the guys that have the most work to do. Konzabo, Tuncer, Gill, Magazi, Narajak, Hillman, Dijek, Flamger, Kazek, and Anderson, all of the cars in the race. And our timing and scoring messed up there a little bit, Ryan. It wasn't reporting properly to us. And that's how we got the mixed up standings there. But turns out the Mercedes is going to be on pole.
Yes, it's sort of. I won't want to commentators curse them and say it was going to happen, but it is such a strong car around here. Interesting to see, though. You can really see where the mid-engine starts to come into play in the middle sector, with Jorge still holding purple for the middle, and that is with the mid-engine rotation. But it would be very interesting in the race. The Mercedes is obviously they burn more, they've got to run more fuel. Maybe the Ferrari is quite good on fuel, being a twin turbo V8. It's with both cars this close, I expect quite a good race between those two. Both have got their strengths and weaknesses.
Well, Anna's in a great position here, starting on pole, finishing, I believe, second at Suzuka a week ago. So perhaps the best position of anybody here to take over the points lead after 2 rounds of the Night Out Championship. Certainly got the track that complements the car. And of course, everybody at the beginning of this championship was guessing as to what tracks they would be going to. And based on that, I'm surprised that there were not more Mercedes than there actually were. But if you picked one for this week, you are certainly going to benefit. I'm going to be really interested to see what Harry Spears can do in the 285, starting back into the fourth position. But I don't suspect they will stay there for very long.
No, we know Harry Spears. We know how consistent he is. I do not expect him to take that laying down, especially with the performance at Suzuka, how he just absolutely left the entire field.
Well, as it was last week, it is again two different classes here in the race today. Pro, as denoted by the white number background, and silver, well, as denoted by the silver background. Two classes racing for two different championships, but they have to share the same track. And of course, overall bragging rights are on the table, though you will not get more points for winning the race as a silver. It is in class points only, but 1 minute left for these guys and girls to get their engines running. One siding lap, and we will be away for 1 hour of racing. Mandatory pit stop, as it was, as it will be for the entire season. There will be a pit window in the middle of the race that they all have to pit in. And like we saw last week, Ryan, a big shakeup in pit road.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that could happen again. Once again at Imola, um, another track that you don't exactly want to be pushing your tires, but at the same time, could it be faster to go all out and take tires? If you're the 199 and you've got clear road ahead of you, it might be a strategy to go like the clappers and ditch everyone and take tires while everyone else is battling. But then once again, Harry Spears could do the opposite from that. He could do like what he did last week, not take tires and have a very light, very low fueled car at the end. It's entirely possible that anyone, I would say, in the top five could win this very easily.
Speaking of the top five, and perhaps quite humorously to me, Cody Pride in the number 15 McLaren was joking in our chat right before they went out on their pace lap saying, "How to ruin qualifying 101 with Cody Pride." Well, if ruining qualifying still nets you a top five starting position, I need to learn how to ruin qualifying like you, because that was a fantastic ruined lap. But I think Pride thinks that there is some time left on the table for the McLarens, and why not McKean, the highest qualifying McLaren, in third, just about 3/10 off of the pole time. We're at Imola here, 6:05 a.m., 1 hour of racing to go. 30 cars on the grid, both pro and silver here for Night Owl Season 3. Glad you're with us here on this late Saturday evening. If you like GT racing, if you like what you see, please hit the like and subscribe button for more GT racing content. We'll be back live with you on Monday. Ryan Gill will be at the microphone for that championship. And of course, the Wednesday Diamond Championship hosted here at RCI. Be back with you for that myself. So, going to take a moment just to thank all of our partners here at RCI, Race Department, AK Informatica, Speed Labs, and Race Department. More information about all those awesome lads in the description. As for now, 30 drivers have a lot of work to do here. If you had a bad race at Suzuka, you can erase that all with a good finish today. If you're Anna, who's leading this field, you can basically take the championship lead with a win here today, Ryan, I feel.
Yes, and it will be interesting to see what Harry does, because as well, the other part of this is Obviously, this is a season. It's not a sprint. As much as you can take the lead with one race, you can very much lose it with the next race. Sometimes it might be better if you know that the people in front of you are very down in the points battle. Why possibly ruin your race to get by them? If you just have a strong finish, you won't lose. The gap will not increase, and then next week you can once again have a go at them. It's all to play for, yeah, as we're still into the early rounds of this champ.
Well, Moriarty has been sentenced to pit road. He will have to start from pit road in his number 2, one of the pro drivers here. Maybe not hitting the button in time. And I was reminded by Cameron DeBastos in chat that actually for him in South Africa, it's already Sunday morning. So quite right you are, Cameron. And hello to anybody who is with us on your very, very early Sunday morning in Africa and Asia. Glad that you're with us as well. Everybody lining up 2 by 2 by 2 as far as the eye can see, and around a corner here at Imola in this very early morning race. 19 degrees the track temperature, very little wind. Track is optimum, partly cloudy, pretty much a picture perfect start to a race. All about getting the start right. Everybody on to the straightaway that isn't straight as we get ready to do battle here for Night Owl. Second race of the championship. Ryan pointed out, very important to get it right here today. Can rebound and bolster your championship hunt today. As the green flag goes down, the lights come on, and the racing begins. A clean start from Anna up front. Jose Jorge trying to fend off McKean behind him. McKean not having any of it, trying to go down to the inside, can't do it, has to fall back. McKean still looking for position as there's a crash. There's a crash in the middle of the pack. Stoffmeal involved, several cars off. Unknown of the damage. I don't know if they made it to the wall, but the 25 going all the way to the back of the pack, and all of a sudden a battle for the lead of this race. They're going to go 3 wide into the hairpin. That's not going to work.
Oh, but have we also noticed who's our favorite Mercedes driver who's jumped the entire pack? We didn't think he was happy to stay down there for long, was he, Harry Spears? He's already all over the Ferrari coming up. 2 by 2 to Aqua Minerale. It's quite a brave move if you can think you can do it around the outside.
He's got him. Oh no, he's sideways, but he got him.
Yep, that is quite the scary maneuver, but pulled it off absolutely flawlessly.
That was excellent stuff. Sliding sideways, trying to get the position to Harry Spears up from 4th place into the 2nd position. Has gotten by all comers except Anna in the 199. Daniel Jose Jorges is going to be wondering how he got to this position after he was the one challenging for the lead. Now he's back to 3rd. All the work to do as the mid-pack fighting hard into the final couple of corners here. Very important to get these corners right. You lose a ton of time on the straightaway if you get them wrong.
Yes, exactly. And especially with the Ferrari, though, they might just be waiting for the tires to come in. You know, it's mid-engines are historically a little bit more twitchy than the front engines. So I wouldn't discount any of the mid-engines yet. I would let them warm up for a few laps and see what's cracking, as McKean is sort of once again looking at Jorge's, maybe thinking that after he's been passed, maybe it's my turn to pass once the driver's a little bit riled, maybe not paying full attention. See what you can do with them.
Well, the other thing, too, when you're in this position and you're fighting so hard for every single place, it's so easy to try and go a little bit more off into the runoff. You don't want to do that on most of these turns. They have these giant, almost like bubble curbs that can toss you up into the air. Not only will it ruin it can potentially ruin your car if you hit them hard enough, it will also probably send you sideways and somebody will get by you. I don't know if that was part of Jose Jorge's issues as they went up to the hairpin, but one thing's for sure, he definitely got sort of past there, but I would not put anything past Harry Spears. He is closing in on our leader as the fighting continues here. That's Litherland and Ziege behind, side by side, fighting each other. Ziege would like to have that position. He's going to find himself on the wrong side of the track, and they all have to filter through here single file, as actually, just as I say that, they are side by side. That looks like Kanzabo and Aker right behind them that were side by side there for a while.
Yes, and that's once again one of those places on the track where you can't take your attention off anything, because if you try attacking the driver in front, you are opening the door for the driver behind you. But especially with that BMW being such a strong car in a straight line, that is not exactly what you want to be opening your door to on a straight, if you can help it.
Well, this is the battle for the lead here. Very nearly. Look at just how much further in the braking zone Harry Spears is getting. This is the battle for the lead of the race. And if you're wondering how Anna's on pole, so are we. Our timing and scoring broke in qualifying there. It is correct. It was corrected as soon as qualifying finished. But the timing and scoring lying to us, saying that we had the wrong pole sitter. But the math checks out. Anna was on pole. Harry Spears starting fourth, all the way up to second and hounding the leader. And while we have a moment, let's go back to what happened to the 25 in the third turn on the opening lap. So here it is right here. The 25 is the one that I denoted that was having issues. They're going to be 3 wide, the 11, the 32, and I can't see who that is on the extreme inside. Oh, but that was, oh, see, that is a 25 Ferrari off. There's a car in the 32. Didn't quite catch exactly what happened, but I imagine it was because they were 3 wide, and that is never going to work.
No, as if we're using a unit of measurement, I think Imola is maybe at best 2 BMW wide.
I like it. I like it.
It's quite the wide car, really, is the BM, especially if you've seen one in real life. Say, I have a British GT. You don't really appreciate how wide some of these cars are.
Well, Ryan, some people like them wide. I am one of those, and BMW suits me just fine. No space in between the two leaders of the race, the 199 and the 285. Trying to go around the outside is Harry Spears. That would be a heroic move if he could get that to come off. Doesn't, but does, in fact, slow Anna down enough that he's able to stay right on the back of the 199. That's a tactic. That's a tactic you could use. A little bit of a defensive move from the 199 there, trying to get back online, defending and blocking the 285 of Harry Spears as this fight does continue. Meanwhile, Daniel Jose Jorge, who was within a second a lap or so ago, is now nearly 2 seconds down. But, Ryan, it's not going to take a whole lot. If these two continue to fight like they are, Daniel Jose Jorge is going to be right back in this battle for the lead.
Exactly, and then once again it plays into your strategy. If you've had the strategy of going long, you don't want to be fighting, you don't want to be ruining any of your tires. So if I were Jose Jorge, I would be sat waiting for either a mistake from those, an accident, or for them to just use up the tires.
Some of you in chat loving the different camera angles. That, of course, is by our producer Nick Setnick here tonight with you for Night Owl, as per usual. Jesse Lee, Ryan Malson in the box with you. But Nick Setnick, the one setting up all the cameras, it's going to be exactly what I was talking about. Knappen's going to get a run here on Gonzalez in the 13, and that's exactly what you were talking about, Ryan. The curbs are lava.
Yes, can Knappen, though, outdrag the almighty Mercedes, who appears not, but the Mercedes has gone too deep. Gonzalez, he has gone too deep. Very easy to do at the penultimate, especially as you're coming downhill. You've got a lot of force on those brakes. And it looks like, once again, that Gonzalo has actually managed to gain the best out of this situation. He's just overtaken both of them.
I can tell you something about Gonzalo. He has just seems to be the best luck of finding a group of drivers that are fighting. Oh, look at this. What is going on here? Now, that's got to be some sort of mechanical problem. That looked unreal.
That car was very unsettled coming into the braking zone.
That was so strange. It was like he locked up just the left side brakes.
Yeah, it's quite an odd one, unless there is still dirt on the tires from the bit of the off-track excursion. So obviously it won't. It's not going to help your grip if you've gone through the gravel and have picked up a load of dirt.
Meanwhile, Harry Spears is so close to Anna, he could change the oil in the 199 Mercedes and charge them with one of those little phone card reader things. That's how close these two were a few corners ago. Minding his business is Harry Spears, not willing to sell out for the pass, knows that there is a pit stop. Pit window won't be open for a little while longer. Knows that there is a pit stop. Anything can happen here. Of course, Anna was one of those that had an issue with their pit stop at Suzuka, did not change their position because they were so far out in second place. It didn't matter, but we did document that they must have taken tires. Some of the drivers, some of the teams did in fact take tires. I don't reckon that they would do that again today. Imola, not the most abrasive track. I don't think you would run out of tires in a 1 hour race.
No, especially not at this temperature. I mean, maybe if you had Imola obviously being in the in Italy, it's quite prone for a bit of heat. But at 19C, I would say that you're definitely, if anything, at 19C, your problem's going to be with some of the long straights keeping heat in the tires.
Ooh, that's why I love having Ryan Mawson in the box. He's very knowledgeable about the technical aspect of all these cars. I pretty much stick to a couple of the ones that I'm familiar with. Ryan, very much knowledgeable of all of the cars and the tracks. He knows the ins and the outs. And like as per usual, I defer to that sort of expertise. And well, if you were Harry Spears right now, Ryan, what do you do? Do you go for the lead, or are you happy to be where you are, knowing that you've gapped third place?
Yeah, with this battle so far, what I would be doing anyway if I had the pace of Harry. Oh, then again,
Ooh.
we say that it might not even matter, as Harry is now going to try going around the outside, coming into Revolta. If anything, going around the outside of this corner is the better line, because then you have the inside for 2 corners coming out onto the straight. And there we go. Position gained for Harry Spears.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, before Harry took my theory and sort of shredded it in front of me, is I would be saying if I was quite happy with the lap times, I would just be sat there waiting. And I would wait as soon as they pit, you push harder, because then you will come out of the pits in front of them. You know, depending on if they get traffic or anything. It's the overcut can work. A lot of the times the undercut is stronger, but it depends how quick you believe your pace is versus the driver in front.
Well, Renoir has come into pit road, as so have a bunch of other cars. The 732 Lamborghini running inside the top 10. Gonzalez, Hillman, and Ziege all into pit road early as soon as it is open. That's pretty much what we saw at Suzuka. Most of the leaders will be at around the halfway point to add just enough fuel, and I would assume, to get to the end of this race. Ryan Mawson pointed out that they probably only had just enough fuel to get to where they needed to be. I see a couple of cars going incredibly slowly. The 34 is almost not moving, but now they've got moving. I didn't see a yellow flag in sector 2, but that appeared to be where they were stopped. But I digress. I expect to see most of the leaders coming in around the halfway point. Of course, you'll always have 1 or 2 cars that come in at the very end of the pit window.
Yes, it's once again, how much fuel can you hold, especially Imola being quite a power circuit. The AMG, I believe it does hold enough to do an hour, but you are scraping it thin. So
the 34 of Magazi has been given a stop and go 30. No stewarding for the Night Owl series as usual, but Magazi given that stop and go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. And just because RCI doesn't have stewarding and won't give you a penalty doesn't mean that ACC won't. Speeding in the pit lane gets you a stop and go 30, so that is their race. The strategy has been crumpled up and thrown into the bin, as Stoffmeal in the 144, who had an early lap 1 incident, coming into pit road, getting their pit stop out of the way. And meanwhile,
here we have Cody Pride has managed to catch all the way back up to the bumper of Jorge's. Once again, maybe didn't expect it, but it could just be part of a strategy call. Maybe Jorge's is just going long. There's a slight twitch from the Ferrari. Gonna go too wide down to Aqua Minerale. He's seen the move happen before. He's thinking, I can do that as well, my son. And there we go, around the outside at Aqua Minerale. Cody Pride up into P3.
And a little bit of bump from Jorge right there whenever he got past. And Excellently done. Cody Pride had been working on that pass since the start of the race. Again, almost got around him on in turn 3. Didn't do it for the PPR Esports 15 McLaren. Now up to third again. And we'll have to pay attention to see if Pride can catch Anna for second place. Not as big of a gap as I expected Harry Spears to be pulling out. He's only 6/10 ahead of Anna right now. And at the rate that he closed in, I expected that gap to be massive. Look at this. They're neck and neck again. Is Anna going to the inside? No.
Now,
Comes
once
back
again,
into line.
it is very hard, though. Obviously, once you've got past, you then are giving that person the slipstream, especially if you're in both the same cars.
Oh,
You have to outdrive your opponent, but it can be quite difficult if they've got a good setup. If you've got a good setup, you don't have a speed advantage over your opponent. If anything, they have a speed advantage over you. You'll notice that once the driver maybe breaks the second mark, then they start pulling away quite hard because you don't have the slipstream advantage anymore.
Jose Jorge's not giving up on Cody Pride either. Again, Pride said that he messed up his qualifying. And, well, based on his pace, I would agree, actually. I would agree that he did do that, and now up into the podium places for Pride. Jose Jorge is not giving up, and neither is Anna. So a couple of battles for the top 4 spots going on. Absolute treat 15 minutes into the race. And here is Solms in the 23 Audi, who just got by the 335 of Giaro.
He's having a bit of a small Audi Cup between them.
Indeed. See those big sausage curbs, as I call them. I think in France they're called baguettes. And in America, they're called a word I can't say on YouTube. And they are huge. They are meant to stop you from cutting the corner, anti-cut curbs. And they do that. Oh, and so that's exactly what it is. If you go wide, they are meant to slow you down, and they indeed will. Hey, I know this guy. You know this guy too. Seb Brunier in the 769, trying to make his way inside the top 15, trying to battle Flamger here for the 15th spot.
Yes, I do like how when you mention baguettes, the cameras immediately switch to R. Sebastian.
I see what Nick did. I see what he did. I was willing to accept that that was just a natural transition, but Nick, you sneaky, sneaky boy. Barca Yilmaz trying to get by Dicek here for 13th place. Driving for the I Miss the Apex Racing. I don't think he's done that yet today.
No, possibly wanting to make up amends for Suzuka. Ooh, he left the inside open there, Dicek.
That was almost, looked like it was on purpose, but it wasn't, because he's going to try and get the pass back done, is Dicek. I don't think he will, though. But if he can hang here on the outside.
He is on the inside, but once again, it depends how brave you are. Ooh, be careful on the marbles. It's not exactly where you want to go. But he has kept it. Yilmaz is not giving up, but thinks better of it going too wide through Acqua Minerale. That seems to be the favourite move so far of a couple of drivers, going too wide there, but the two Ferraris decide better of it.
Well, the last time we were here at Imola, every time they tried to go too wide in Minerale, it went completely wrong. Today, every time that they've went too wide through there, it's been an absolutely brilliant move with very little, if any, contact. So got to give it to all of the teams and drivers. They're definitely learning, and some of these teams learning on very short notice, of course, about their car and this track. But Dicek not laying over for Yilmaz here at all. Just maybe got caught off guard by him actually making that move into the hairpin at all. The 34, as you saw on the screen, has come in and served that agonizingly long stop and go 30 for speeding in pit lane and is cleared. Moriarty, we documented, started dead last in this race in the pit lane, which realistically meant that he missed the melee in turns 2 and 3, but still started way behind the field. He is in 19th, but every car behind him has already pitted. So it's hard to tell exactly where he would be.
Yeah, I think so far he will probably looking at the gaps will drop back down to almost last, but still got 40 minutes of the race left. Still plenty of time to make amends.
We have some Ban Jordy in chat now, but Jordan Grant Smith is not in Night Owl. We can't escape the Ban Jordy. Of course, if you were with us yesterday for the Friday World Championship, RCI did in fact ban Jordy. That actually happened. RCI in fact did ban Jordy in a race. Of course, never want to have to go that route, but the lag was immense. Jordan Grant Smith racing on Wi-Fi accidentally, as second place Anna in pit road for their stop.
Yeah, possibly an early stop there. It's not quite the halfway mark, but once again, maybe that's part of the strategy. Or if you realize that you're not gaining on the car in front, they're going to go for the undercut, try come out in front of Harry Spears.
Not a bad idea. I like it. If you're being held up, perhaps not bad at all. Oh no, but something terrible just occurring. The 199, second place in the race, pole sitting car. Anna has gotten a stop and go 30 for speeding in pit lane.
Yeah, that is quite once again quite a blow to your championship hopes now. But I've seen quite a few drivers do this, and it is an interesting pit lane at Imola. It's very narrow, and once again, a bit like I mentioned at Suzuka, the pit line is very hard to see, especially if you've got this sort of low light. It's still in only 6:30 in the morning. You can very easily overshoot that. I think the record so far is held by a friend of mine who came into the pits, and when he'd realised he had almost gone over the line, we clocked him at 162 kilometers an hour. And needless to say, he did get a stop-go 30 for that, speeding just a little bit.
Yeah, he just barely missed it at double the pit limit, I think.
Yes, as Guzaro, he's not content with sitting behind the McLaren of Warren, even though maybe he's not in his class. It's once again, it's all places, isn't it? Especially if you're being held up.
Yeah, indeed, as much. Guiaro would very much like to get by Warren. They're not really paying attention. These drivers, when the visor goes down and the lights turn green, they don't really care too much what class they're in. They're here to race, and if you're in front of them, well, you're the next person that they are trying to pass. Well, looks like Yilmaz has got that pass done on Dichek, but look who is in 14th for Open Visor Racing Club, the 769 of Seb Brunier, looking to capitalize. He's brought him back into this, and there's going to be contact. Dichek and Yilmaz there, and all to the outside, the ultimate opportunist, the Frenchman Seb Brunier, is going to get that position. And now, is he going to make a look on the inside? No, he isn't, but he is definitely has the run. We're going to see if he can. Oh, look at that. Yilmaz's car a little unsettled.
Yeah, he's been catching this group slowly for quite a few laps now, actually. If you remember, he was battling not too long ago with Flamger. Look to the inside at the top of the hill once again. Oh,
you can't do that, Ryan, right? Because if you do that, that is a shortcut penalty, isn't it?
I have a feeling that is definitely going to be at least the first track limits if he's not got one already.
Well, we haven't talked about it, but ACC will give you a drive-through pit lane penalty for too many track cuts. You get 2 or 3 of them, and then after that, you get slapped with a drive-through. That is the second time that I've seen Yilmaz do that, I think.
Yes,
so very important not to get that penalty.
The Alta chicane is also absolutely terrible for track limits. That is the bane of all qualifying sessions and can be the bane of your race if you get you can very easily have 1, 2, 3 and you're out.
Well, this is David Gill, not Ryan Gill. I know it is confusing. It is a Lamborghini, but that is David Gill for Stop and Go Racing Team. Looking at the back of Knappen and Litherland now. Looking into the top 10. Oh, it's so tasty, isn't it? It's so close, and you know that you could potentially get inside. Oh, as he gets all sorts of sideways and loses a bit of time there. We talked about it last week. Top 10 is better than getting 11th place is pretty nice, but the only thing nicer is getting 10th. It's a nice number. You always sort of want to be in the top 10. And I do say I like that all orange Lamborghini. Reminds me of the sort of Diablo that used to race, the GT1.
Yeah, it's you definitely can't miss it on track. If anything, for me, it reminds me of the old, I think it was the V10 eras of Formula One cars. They used to have Orange, the telephone company, and they ran an entirely orange car. It was very striking, to say the least.
They kind of stole the Netherlands colors there, don't you think?
Yes, well, obviously the some of the best cars for those were Spiker. When they
Oh,
ran
yes,
Le
indeed.
Mans, the racing for Holland, which then also had a small spin-off team that was drinking for Holland, where they would go and cheer on Spiker, cheer on their home team. And as we know, Spiker no longer really exist as a company, but racing for Holland is still going on. So do not worry, the Dutch are still drinking for their country at Le Mans each year.
Now, that is a cause that I can definitely get behind. Coming up to the halfway point in the race, none of the top drivers other than Anna have pitted. Anna, of course, was given the stop go 30. They have since cleared that penalty. I think Anna has retired from the race.
Yeah, actually, could come to think of it, I can't see them on my timing screen anymore.
So we started with 30 cars here today at Imola. We have 29, and the one number that I do not see on my board right now is the 199.
No, I think you are right, Jesse. They appear to have disappeared,
Indeed.
vanished without
Unfortunate
a
that.
trace.
I wonder if maybe that was sort of a waving the white flag a little bit, realizing that there wasn't any hope. But I would hope that, being second in the championship, they would have considered otherwise. But that also could potentially have been an even more serious problem for the 199.
Maybe, and sometimes championships are won on your lowest score.
Don't I know it? Sebastian Bernier still trying to get around Yilmaz. The gap pretty much the same between these two. Dicek behind, falling back about 1.82 seconds. Bernier still trying to run down Yilmaz. These two familiar with each other in racing competition. But just playing follow the leader at the moment. Litherland in front, though, has come into pit road. I suspect more of the top runners will do that as well. Spears leads, Jorge's leads Pride. McKean Lima, the top 5. Sonez, Guerrero, Knappen, Gill, and Warren, your current top 10.
Yes, as we missed it at some point, but Jorge's has got back round Pride. So this battle once again is quite on.
I think these two should get a room. They've certainly they're having they're frustrated that they can't pull away, but they're also racing driver mentality. They're having fun because they are racing for a podium position. They now know they're racing for second in the race and good championship points early in a season. So you hate it because you wish you could get some space and relax. You love it because you're genuinely racing your heart out for a position that really matters.
Yes, and as this battle goes on, once again, we can see in the background the 333 of McKean, who had maybe not the best start that he wanted to at Suzuka, but he's definitely brought it back at Imola with a P4, which will hopefully help his championship goal.
Oh, look at Pride.
He's thinking about it. Once again, maybe trying to force the Ferrari offline and then capitalize down the straight. It doesn't appear so. It appears that the Ferrari still maintained his good run.
Yes, indeed. Cameron in chat saying that potentially maybe some damage on the PPR Esports McLaren, maybe. Don't know if that's the case. I didn't. If you spotted it and I didn't, that's very possible. But I don't see anything on there. Do you, Ryan?
Currently don't see anything. Normally you see a couple of the battle scars and the scratches.
It's hard to see, isn't it? Because most of the car is black, and black sort of hides some of the scrapes some of the time, especially in this light, early morning.
Yes, once again, it's Cody's all over the Ferrari in the corners, but maybe the McLaren being quite the downforcey car just doesn't have the legs. So as both of them have a slide, so
Oh,
neither can capitalize on one another. Order
drift
normally presumed.
competitions. Drift competitions tomorrow, boys. This is a GT race. And as if I predicted it myself, Harry Spears in pit road doing his mandatory pit stop. Very important. He knows what happened to Anna. Cannot speed down this pit lane. Cody Pride, that will bring Cody Pride down into pit road. Daniel Jose Jorge does not come into pit road. Cody Pride tired of following the 777. 777 will go into the lead. The only two of the front drivers that come in are your leader and third. And the 24 has been given a stop-go penalty for speed infringement in the pit lane.
Yeah, a lot of drivers today being tripped up by that sort of sharp pit entry. The line does come up quite fast when you come off. There's not much room between the peel off and the limit line.
Very much so. Well, what is the game plan for Jose Jorge's here? Not out of the race, running second, now by himself in the 777. Could he potentially have something in his bag of tricks that gets him closer or the lead entirely here?
Ooh, as we have a big snap through Aqua Minerale. But as we saw at Suzuka, Jesse, we don't know what each driver's doing. Some could take tyres, some could not. Maybe if Harry Spears thinks that he is far enough ahead, he may take tyres, and that could be the undoing. We really don't know until they come out of the pit stop.
Notoriously difficult, the pit road here. Very easy to speed in pit road. Potentially, as Cameron DeBastos just pointed out in chat, could potentially have the board gone, so they're not sure what line it starts at now.
Yeah, which is what I have a feeling will be happening, especially with that low setting sun. You know, if you get a bit of glare on the road, it's very hard to see the painted white lines, especially when they glare back at you.
Very much so. David Gill, Stop and Go Racing Team 80 Lamborghini, trying to plot out his gap between the car behind and the cars in front. 24 has come back down pit road and cleared their penalty. They continue on. I can tell you that both Harry Spears and Cody Pride, as David Gill comes in, but both Harry Spears and Cody Pride did pit without incident. Pit stops went about as good as you could expect.
Yes, we'll just have to see what kind of pit stop times the rest of the field has. Is it just me, or has the gap slightly decreased from Spears to Pride? Am I just,
Well, it has.
am I just imagining that?
No, you are not. That has happened. Harry Spears had a 1 minute and 1 second pit delta. Cody Pride only had 52.4 on his pit delta. So 9-second gain by Cody Pride in pit lane.
I have a feeling that will be very much an AMG because you have to run more fuel with how thirsty they are. So I think if you're doing a splash and dash in your McLaren, you'll need less fuel than a splash and dash in the Mercedes. It's not the 30-second gap that we saw at Suzuka, which we suspected was a tyre change, whether they wanted it or not.
All right. Well, Carlos Guiaro getting it done up into the top 5 on the stretch of pit stops. Oh, and it just continues. Gill in the 80. We were just talking about him speeding in pit lane, and the same news for the 24 again of Tuncer. I thought the 24 cleared their pit road violations. So how is that a new one? I don't know.
I believe that was the 25?
Oh, okay. So the
I think it
24.
was 25 of Campo was the first to get a stop go 30, and now we have the other Ferrari of the 24 in following in sympathy, maybe.
There it is. Well, the two cars, Gill and Tuncer, speeding violations in pit road. Harry Spears, slower in pit lane. We reckon that it's due to taking more fuel for the run. Cody Pride, though, still trails Harry Spears. We're going to have to see what this man does. Jose Jorge's, when he comes into pit road, they got 16 and a half minutes left to pit before the pit window evaporates. Can't just pit whenever you want. You have to pit in the window this season. Jordan Sones here in the 23. All on his own, trying to make lap time. Hope you guys are enjoying round 2 of the Night Owl Championship Season 3. I'm Jesse Lee. I'm here with Ryan Mawson and Nick Setnick, giving you all the cameras and the angles of the race here today at Imola. Glad that you're with us on your Saturday evening or Sunday morning, as it turns out. And if you like what you see, and if you're interested in more GT racing action, well, we're doing it most days of the week nowadays. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe for more GT racing content, and you will be notified when we go live Monday afternoon for the Monday Championship, that hosted by Ryan Gill. Of course, we'll be back with you on Wednesday for the Diamond Cup, and Friday for the Friday World Cup Championship, and of course, this time again next Saturday evening for more Night Owl racing. And Ryan, they won't know what track they're going to be at till about Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, it gives it a quite good mix-up, doesn't it? It's never sort of over until it's over, especially with what car you pick. You could have picked the best of the best for your balance of performance and how it feels around those tracks, or you could have picked, one of the worst. You do not know.
You do not indeed. Once again, would just like to thank you all for joining us here on RCI TV, and like to thank all of our partners, Race Department, AK Informatica, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP. Catch all of the links to those awesome people in the description, as we are 25 minutes away from the checkered flag take or give there a little bit. And a bunch of pit stops inside the top 10 left to decide who's taking home the silverware here today. Top 3 sort of up in the air. It all depends on what Jose Jorge does in his pit stop.
Yes, and once again, then it starts this late in the race. You start getting, like we're seeing on screen, Jesse, where lap traffic. If you're trying to go the long game, you do not want to be held up by traffic, because then that'll affect your lap times. You want to basically have no one in front of you. Aziz does get over. Slightly, maybe a little bit too far over. But
that's the 777 and the 7, both Ferraris there, having to work it out. Paulo Lima has come in for his pit stop. Looked like it went well. That looked fairly quick as well for the AMG. Not something I would have expected to have seen. We'll see just how far he goes back. He'll fall back outside the top 10, I feel. And here is Cody Pride, who will, in fact, pass Lima in the pit lane, coming out.
Yes,
it's a
Cody
long
Pride.
Pit lane.
Cody Pride doing the long game versus Jorge's. We'll have to see when Jorge's pits where these two continue their battle, or who has got the upper hand.
Well, this is very interesting because Pride is coming up on the back of Dijek right now. Dijek still has to pit in that double 7 Ferrari. Why are all the 7 cars Ferraris? The single 7, the triple 7, and the double 7 are all Ferraris. Conspiracy theory, everybody put your tinfoil hats on. But all the 7s are Ferraris, and I don't think they're all friends either. So just a very interesting coincidence here in Night Owl. But what I was going to say is, what will Dijek do here? He's got a faster car that is already pitted. You would assume he would yield, but it doesn't look like he's doing it in an aggressive way. He is giving way here, but no, doesn't slow down at all, trying to make Cody Pride do it the hard way.
No, because you are, as much as it is a still a position. It's for overall position. Even if you had not pitted, maybe sometimes, if you don't want to battle that person, you can just let them by. As
Oh,
the double seven outbreaks themselves once again. That is the second person we've seen go off at Piratella.
I think Dichek did something similar early in the race when
even.
he was fighting Yimaz as well. So
Yes, it is quite easy to go off at Rivasa. Called it Piratella the first time.
indeed. I listen. Ravaz is one of those corners that gives me nightmares. It's downhill. It's a left turn, and it's very nearly a 90-degree left turn downhill, and you have to get straight because you have another apex left to take to get onto the front straight that isn't in any way straight. I think we should rename a lot of the straightaways in motorsport, not call them straights anymore. I think we should call them the front curves or something like that. But I guess straight just sounds better. Yimaz still to pit as well. Now he has Cody Pride back behind him about 8 seconds. But of course, everybody has to pit in the next 10 minutes 40. Otherwise, that will be a very massive penalty. I don't actually know what penalty you get for that. Might be a disqualification, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I don't actually remember. It's either a disqualification or it's a hefty time penalty. I think it's like almost 120-second added to your overall race time. But a lot of these cars couldn't. Oh, if I say they couldn't go, you wouldn't expect them to have brimmed the tanks right from the bat to go the full hour.
Gonzalez on the back of Knappen. Here's a race for position. Both these cars pitted. Mercedes on Aston, Silver on Pro. Of course, we mentioned earlier, Ryan pointed out rightly so, doesn't matter. A position is a position in overall. You are allowed to fight for it. And Gonzalez will do just that as he contests the position. But he's going to go over the sausage curbs and have a massive sort of undulation in the air. And Gonzalez, by virtue of doing that, Ryan, has given himself the first drive-through of the day, and he's also going to visit the beach.
Yeah, well, we said it was going to happen, wasn't it? Is that at Alta, that is one of the most horrible positions for a drive-through. We did think it was going to happen.
Absolutely called it.
So once again, looking like a couple of people are going to gain position. Sebastian Brunier, Stoffmeal.
Well, there you have it. 19 minutes left in the race. The first drive-through for track limits given, of course, like we said. No stewards, no live stewards here. Stewarding occurs post-race in the Night Owl Championship. But ACC's stewarding is always ever present. You go afoul of the rules, according to ACC, you will still get a penalty, and that's what we saw there with the 13. And unfortunately for Gonzalez, who was having I think we could say it, a pretty darn fantastic day, it is all going to come undone and go up in smoke as he's going to be well outside the top 20, could potentially be outside the top 25 as James Warren nearly goes off into the dirt, was able to dip a tire off, catch it, and not lose anything.
Yeah, it was Warren pulling in for his scheduled pit stop. Starting to get down to the last of the late pitters. Obviously, these people have all filled up the car a lot more than the rest of the field to go this long, but it is very much a strategy. We saw it partly play out at Suzuka.
I very wrongly earlier pointed out that Cameron alerted us to the pit board thing. I've recently determined that I was incorrect and a bit silly. That's McLean, or Macklin, however you want me to pronounce your name, John. But very silly mistake of me. I was looking at the timing and scoring at the time. But yeah, as John does point out, that pit board is, I would say, at least 2 meters behind where the actual line starts. I don't know if it's like that by default. I've never paid attention. Only ever paid attention to the line. So I don't know if it was moved there and it's just perfectly put there, or if it's always like that. And if it's always like that, what are you doing, Imola?
Yeah, I think someone needs to go down from pit road and move that just a little bit further forward, so we don't have even more drivers with an SG30. Seems to be a bit of the theme of this race. That and too wide through Aqua Minerale.
Yes, indeed, very much so. Daniel Jose Jorge has 6 minutes 45 seconds left to pit. Hasn't came in yet. Sonaz in second place, and McKean in third has just pitted. Guiaro has pitted out of the fourth position. Yimaz, Dichek, Moriarty still to pit.
Yeah, we were mentioning Moriarty earlier. That could have been quite good for his race if he's been in clean air all this time. Could actually bring him back into a respectable finishing position.
Warren has taken his machine behind the wall into the to the garage. He received that stop and go 30, and he has resigned from the race this evening. So that's our second DNF due to what we perceive to be stop and goes.
Yeah, as I said, it's easily done, isn't it? But sometimes your lowest finishing position and your lowest points can make or break the championship.
I'm not really one for quitting, even if I'm doing incredibly poorly. I'm not really one for that. I like to see the checkered flag. Of course, the ultimate goal of every race, I feel, is to see the checkered flag, especially in a championship setting. But sometimes the stress, the intensity, and all the other mental factors set in, and it becomes nearly impossible to finish or gain. And well, just stopping seems to be the only option. Though I will say I've been privy to some of the internal conversations with some of the RCI top brass, and they're thinking about making it where if you don't finish, even if you do finish in a points paying position, if you don't cross the line, you don't get points. Now, that's just something they're thinking about. And of course, they think about a lot of things, but not in any way a thing that is planned. Dichek does come in the double seven. Sean Moriarty, talked about him for PPR Esports, started dead last in pit road for not for what I assume is not hitting the drive button quick enough. But we'll have to see where he comes out after the pit stop cycle. I think he'll be somewhere vaguely near the top 20.
Yeah, you would assume so, especially if there's not taking tires. There seems to be quite a big gap after sort of P15, P16. So I would expect to see him come out somewhere at least around there. As we see the battle with Lima and Renault still going on, as Renault's running slightly wide. It's again maybe a thing that you want to do that, but Lima has been hanging on the back of Renault for quite a while now. Maybe not exactly what you wanted to be seeing in your rearview mirror. It's the giant AMG, especially good car in a straight line. But the Lamborghini quite holding her own, or holding his own even, should I say. Using the splitter cam. Once again, cameras by Nick Setnik tonight, bringing you all the best angles from Imola. Down the hill to the hard braking zone. Once again, as Jesse Lee pointed out earlier, not a corner you want to go off, and then you want, if you can, the best run out onto the straight. See if you can really use the power of the AMG. Power down the straight. Yilmaz and Moriarty now serving their pit. The last of the late pitters as that just leaves Jorge's and Sonaz. With 2 minutes to go, that could be, well, realistically, it's one more lap. So we'll have to see where they come out.
Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? Because you got Jose Jorge, who is not pitting until the last possible second. You would assume this time by, he has to come in. And we've seen him do this before, and there it is. The Smooth Operators GPT 777 leading the race. Now, keep in mind, folks, he was second before the pit stop cycle started for the leaders. We will see what his pit stop time was. Keep in mind, Harry Spears had a 1-minute 1 pit delta, and Jordan Sones comes in as well. And that will complete this pit cycle. Now, here is Harry Spears in third place. He was the leader. He is going to be well and truly out in front here. That is just such a miserable feeling there.
Yeah, it looks like Jorge's, even with the splash and dash, just not quite. But that will have promoted in one place, because if you remember, the 199 has retired.
What's that?
The 199, remember, of Anna.
Oh, yes, indeed.
So it's at least it's one gain.
So Daniel Jose Jorge's pit delta was 51 seconds, and he has made made up some time, but it will not be enough. Cody Pride had a pretty much even stop with Jose Jorge's, but they will filter out in the same positions they were. And a good day has gone from good to bad for Jordan Sones, who has been out front in silver for a very long time. But he is going to have to come back to pit road and serve a stop and go 30 for pit lane speeding.
Yeah, I think this shall now be called the Imola 1 hour of stop go 30s. Quite a few drivers been falling victim to this, haven't they, this time?
Yes, it will be. And pit window is officially closed. And all things considered, everybody did get their stop in time. And you may say, well, of course they did. They knew when they had to pit. But you'd be wrong then, because we have seen some people push it and miss the box. But everybody got there. So talking about silver, Renoir in the 732, who, by the way, is trying to get, or is getting sort of fought by Lima here. This is the race for the silver win. Renoir, who led much of the opening stanza of this race for silver in the blue Lamborghini. Don't see many blue Lamborghinis like that, but I must say I like that. Paulo Lima here for Lima Racing, the 18 Mercedes, trying to take home that win for silver. It's all to play for here with 9 minutes to go.
Yeah, maybe if you were I know if I were a Lamborghini, I wouldn't want that big AMG behind me, especially if you're coming up into a straight.
Meanwhile, Cody Pride has eliminated a 1.5 second gap to Jose Jorge's in second place. A fight for the second step of the podium. Here they are right now. PPR Esports is on Cody Pride, right on the back of Jorge's for second. 9 seconds out to Harry Spears in the lead in that Mercedes, and Cody Pride continues to get loose out of the chicane.
We did say that we thought this battle would resume. Obviously, the neither strategy gained each driver anything. Going long didn't gain Jorge's anything, and coming in early didn't gain Cody Pride anything. So now we're settling it back on the track.
Well, that's how I would do it. I would like to settle it on the track, let the racers race and all that. Pit stops have done. I expected Spears to be not quite as far out in front, providing he had one of the slowest pit stops, mind you, a 1-minute 1. Most people in the 50s to 55, but doing what he had to do. And that strategy of Harry Spears with 7.5 to go, just after 7 a.m. in sim time, it's looking like it's going to pay off. And these are the two battles we're looking for right here. It ain't going to be a battle for any more. Lima's going to skirt on through. Renoir making a mistake, hitting the dirt. And all of a sudden Lima in the number 18 goes through.
Yeah, exactly. It's as much as there only is 7 minutes to go, there is still 7 minutes to go. You got to keep it on the black stuff for that long. Be interesting to see though if the 732 can come back at Lima. It's not over yet.
Well, we're going to have to see. Lima did catch Renoir there. We're going to see if the reverse is also true. We've seen it a couple times today where even if you make the pass, you still don't get away. This could be a tale of that as well, as of course the Lamborghini not giving up at all, as you would expect. Less than a second between them.
We mentioned that that's the same story about the battle with the 15 and the 777, the Cody Pride and Jorge's. They've been swapping around and neither have really managed to pull away from each other when each has passed.
Well, for Harry Spears, it is likely going to be, as we see Cody Pride hitting another curb, for Harry Spears, it is going to be a day where he has promoted himself from what I believe to have been fourth place into the lead and did a lot of damage on that opening lap, getting behind Anna, getting the pass done. And for Cody Pride, no matter if he finishes second or third here, you have to give it up for him. This man started in the 5th place position, was joking in chat at the start, haha, I messed up my qualifying. And I joked back that anybody who says they messed up qualifying and they got 5th, probably going to be dangerous in the race. And here we are on the podium, secured, now fighting for an even better position with 5 minutes to go. Must admit he fell off of him a little bit there.
Yes, as you says, maybe messed up qualifying. Certainly hasn't messed up his race though.
Indeed not, but Jose Jorge has just sort of gapped him a little bit here.
Yeah, we'll have to see what each lap times are coming round. But once again, you've been, as we said at Suzuka, we've been now almost an hour on these tires. That is getting towards the time where you are going to notice a bit of grip loss, especially in the McLaren that's very downforce focused. You know, if you start losing any amount of grip, it's very, very easy to drop time. Sebastian Brunier's got to go on Litherland. Can he get the cut back though with the better drive down the straight? It appears that the big Bentley has the better run just about, but it does show Sebastian's intent, that he shows that I am here and I believe that I have the pace over you.
Well, Seb Brunier, Frenchman in his 40s who races exclusively in virtual reality, documented that several times, doesn't have a monitor, relies all the time on his VR headset, swears by it, sets people up in the RCI Discord with VR instructions and sort of tips. He's actually done that for me as well for ACC, and he's going to get this position, 11th place for Seb Brunier in the 769, up one more spot. We'll have a little bit of work to do and a little too little time to get to Stoffmeal in 10th. But what a race and what a day it has been for Seb Brunier, who often doesn't get the finishes in the time that he deserves. But today, he is in max attack and getting it done. And speaking of getting it done, we talked about Harry Spears in the 285. What else could you say? He is losing just a little bit of time to Jose Jorge's now, but not enough to really matter. 2 laps to go in the Night Owl Season 3 Race 2 here at Imola. But all things considered, it has been a fantastic day. It's just all about managing apexes and exits now, not getting caught up with traffic, and bringing it home clean.
Yes, and we said it at the start of the race, didn't we, Jesse, that we didn't think that Harry Spears was just going to sit there and be content with P5.
No, and he shouldn't. He shouldn't. Everybody should go for what they feel that they can go for. Excellent start. When this race is over, go back to the start of the race and look what Harry Spears and Cody Pride did on the initial start of the race. Chaos around them, but picked up numerous positions, put themselves in a position to win this race. And now Jose Jorge's doing exactly what he needs to do, keep Cody Pride behind him and protect. He started second, did the 777. He would have liked to have won, but at very least, he would like to at least finish runner-up here today. Doing a good job now, keeping Pride behind him. I thought Pride would be right on him, but he's managing the gap.
Yeah, exactly. It's especially if you've only got maybe one lap left, you know where to place your car to just sort of make your opponent think, or you play to the weaknesses of that car.
Leader crossed the line, last lap of the race. Sian Stoffmeal here, getting it done. Looking like he's going to bring it home in a top 10 position. One of the very few rare Lexuses in this championship. Has some damage on that 144 from earlier in the race. Hasn't bothered him too much. Don't think Guiaro in front is going to be threatened too much. But an excellent day for him as well. Anytime you get a top 10, it feels good. Gap continuing to go out here between Jorge's and Pride. And I think at this point, if you are Pride, you have settled for the final step of the podium.
Nothing to shake a stick at, though, obviously.
Absolutely not. I'd take a podium any day of the week. If you asked, would I like to have the occasional win or a lifetime of podiums? Lifetime of podiums, please. You still get a cup.
Yes, Moriarty going up the inside of the 77. A little bit of a touch there as well.
Well, this has been going on here. Something happened to Moriarty, by the way.
I think Moriarty led him back through. I think he was maybe not content with that move. Be a case of we'll settle it properly. We'll go for a proper move as we see Harry Spears taking the checkered flag. Another not quite lights to checkered like he did at Suzuka, but still one hell of a performance.
Well, he had work to do today, and he pulled it off. And it's going to be a massive crash between Jose Jorge's and Cody Pride. They're going to take a celebratory trip to the infield medical facilities after that crash together. Excellent race between them. We didn't talk about Josh McKean much today in the 333, but a brilliant race, a quiet race home and fourth. Paulo Lima in the 18 had an eventful race unfold around him, but he is going to come home fifth. Renoir in sixth place. And of course, Canzabo in the seventh place. Knappen and then Guiaro for eighth and ninth, respectively. And Stoffmeal comes home in the 10th place. Seb Brunier made remarkable passes today and got rewarded just outside the top 10, but a fantastic go of it. Kumpu didn't talk about Nico Kumpu almost at all today, other than the penalty he got. Nice recovery into the 13th position, and it's going to be a little rough driving there. Die check, and who was that? In fact, I don't think that was for position.
No, I believe it was. That's Moriarty in the grey Porsche.
It was. Okay, so Moriarty is going to push Dichek off the racetrack, and Moriarty is going to come home 16th. Now, that's going to be interesting. Dichek's going to be relegated to 17th. They will not be happy about that. And the interesting thing about Moriarty, he was in 15th place the last time I checked, which was a couple laps ago. So I suspect something happened to the two. Dichek 17th. Heelman in 18th, Anderson 19th, and Akar in 20th rounds out the top 20 finishers of the race today. Of course, Harry Spears winning over Daniel Jose Jorge's and Cody Pride, your podium. Excellent race, I thought, from start to finish. Very compelling stuff. A bunch of different lead changers, pit stops, strategy up in the air. And on a day that you had to be perfect both on the racetrack and on pit road, I think we found some worthy victors.
Yes, and quite a few of the of people being caught up by the SG30s, the drive-throughs. But as you says, it's definitely not over. We're on round two so far, and you've got all of the rest of the season. You do not know. We could be going anywhere next, which could really suit your car, or it could really not. As I says, sometimes championships are won by your lowest points.
I think that's very wise and sage advice there. And of course, cannot forget the silver drivers. Lima beats Renoir and Consabo. That is your podium for silver. Two different championships going on at the same time in the Night Owl. Once again, if you like the race, if you like what you saw, if you like us, if you like GT racing, why not like and subscribe for more GT racing content? Next live broadcast will be on Monday, the Monday Championship, as presented by the voice of RCI, Ryan Gill. And we have racing all week for you next week, including the Wednesday Championship, the Friday World Championship, and of course, the same time, same place next Saturday for more Night Owl actions in round three here. But we don't know where we're going to be. Basically, Ryan, Nick, and I are handed a plane ticket and a blindfold, is what happens. So we know when the drivers know, and they won't know until the end of the week as well. Exciting stuff here. Only Mike Jones knows what will happen next. We invite you to see us then and come back Monday for that. Once again, thank you to all of the different people that make this race and all the races possible. Race Department, AK Informatica, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP. Thank them for everything they do. Join our Discord, get involved, get on the track. We have splits for everybody. But on behalf of me, Ryan Mollison, and Nick Setnick, and the entire RCI family, have a good night, have a good weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
Ta-ra for now.